Alright, so I'm going to show how to open up and disassemble this 2018 MacBook Pro. It's a 15-inch model A1990. So what you're going to need, I don't know for sure which screwdrivers you'll need, but you definitely will need a Pentalobe 1.2, a T5, I believe you also need a T4, and possibly a T8. But I'm not going to take out the screen. I'm going to be removing the motherboard or the logic board because they got a liquid spill on this one. Alright, so if you are going to attempt this, just know that you can't really upgrade anything, but you can replace the battery, the trackpad, the logic board, the screen, and the speakers. Alright, so we're going to first remove the cover. You're going to want to use a Pentalobe 1.2. I already removed the screws, but there's 2 screws towards the hinge that are longer, and then you got 4 screws at the bottom here that are shorter. Alright, once you do that, you're going to want to, you can try and use a pry tool or your fingernails to go in this gap here to lift up this bottom cover, and then once you get that part up, you can lift under here. Let me zoom in so you can kind of see that better. So on the side of the Mac here, if you pull up on here, as you can see, it's lifting this cover, and then you can get your fingernail under there or a pry tool. And once you do that, you can kind of pull on that, and I use my thumb to push on the side that doesn't move and slide my fingers down and then pull up like that to pop the cover. Alright, if you can't do that, what you can do is, this is the other side, okay, the other side cover with the foot here. Oops, sorry, I'm going the wrong way. So this side. So if you can't do that with your pry tool or fingernails, you can get a suction cup. Just use the suction cup, pull on the suction cup. Oh, I should probably zoom out so you can see. Alright, so what you do is you pull on the suction cup, and while you're pulling on the suction cup, then you can get underneath this bottom cover. Same thing with a pry tool or your fingernails, and then just go along the side, okay? Go down the side and pop up the cover. Alright, so let me turn this back over. Zoom back out so you can see. Okay, so once you do that, there are also clips in the middle, but usually once you pull up the 2 side clips, the whole thing will come up. So normally what I do is I will, oops, let me turn that off. Okay, so normally what I do is I grab the bottom cover like this, and then I kind of push with my thumb on this part, the part that is separate from the bottom cover, and then I use my fingers up here to pull this cover down. But I found actually this is, there's an easier way that I figured out after thinking about it, so let me zoom out and show you that. Probably don't need to zoom out that much. Alright, so what you do once you get the bottom cover open like this, you want to put the computer, the MacBook, like this so that the hinge is facing up. Okay, I should probably zoom out more so you can see this. And then while you're kind of, yeah, let me zoom out more so you can see all my junk all over my desk. Okay, so what I do is I grab this cover, alright, and then up here you can pull down. So where the hinge is, so in between the hinge, you can pull down on this, and you can pull really hard while you're also pulling on this cover. You want to do this on, this is like a soft padded thing, so you want like kind of a rubbery or soft foam thing so that when you pull this down, it's going to hit that foam and not like a hard surface. But basically I grab here, okay, and then I pull in between. I put my pinky up here so I don't pull too far, but just like this, pull it down, okay? It's going to be really tough, so just keep that in mind. So pull on it, it's not coming, go to the other side, and you just keep repeating this, okay? Same thing, you pull down on this side, and grab the cover, pull it down, okay? And then go back to the other side, same thing, pull it down, alright? It does take a lot of force. Pull it down, go back to the other side. Pull it, there we go. Alright, and then see when you pull the cover down, it hits the table, so you can't pull it too far. So then this side, if it's stuck, just pull that as well. But again, it's very tough. It does hurt your hands. but I found that's the easiest way. Then maybe there's a special tool to do this, but I don't know. On this model, it's always tough because they put like some kind of, let me zoom in again. They put some kind of like metal thing here or something that makes it more rough. If you look at the bottom covers here, see this thing? Whatever this is, I don't know. It makes it a lot more difficult to pull this cover down. It doesn't like to slide against the surface on the side here. Okay, but that's how you remove the cover. So that's the first thing. After that, you want to disconnect the battery. So there's this plastic thing here. You want to slowly peel this up. There's some adhesives underneath, so just peel it slowly. It'll be a little tough. I already took it out, so it came out a lot easier, but you want to just pull on it slowly and it will release on its own. All right. After that, we're going to have to use the T5 screwdriver. All right. So let's switch to the T5 bit. Okay, and then we're going to have to remove the connector for the battery. Okay, so the connector, this part connects, there's two parts that connect to the battery. So first what you want to do is get this cable out. So there's this little plastic thing you have to lift up and move it out of the way. Underneath there, if you can see, there's a little latch. You want to pop that latch up. Once you pop that latch up, then you can slide the cable out just like that, okay? If it doesn't slide out, you can kind of pinch between and pull it out, or use some flat tweezers. Though flat tweezers, I don't know, you can kind of damage this. Okay, once you got this connector out, this is the battery connector, then you want to undo the screw that was underneath it, okay? This screw right here. Sorry, the cable keeps getting in the way, but you want to remove that big screw. Okay, take that big screw out. Once you remove that big screw, you want to bend this metal piece slightly up so that it stays bent up. You don't want it to be touching down on the battery connector board down here, so you want to bend it so it stays up like that, right? After you do that, you can open up the MacBook and then press and hold the power button for about 15 seconds just to drain any power that's left in the computer. Okay, oops, not that side, it's on this side. Right, so press and hold the power button for about 15 seconds. This will drain any power from the computer so that it's less risky to work on. Okay, so if you want, clean out the dust. I don't know if this is gonna fix the computer. They spilled like half a glass of liquid on it. So hopefully this will fix it, but I'm not 100% sure if it will or not, but we will try. Usually I won't show the liquid damage repair in the recording because I have to do this inside, like at a sink. So basically I would take the whole board out and then I would use a toothbrush and then scrub any, like here there's some corrosion down here where it turns like green and things like that. But you need special tools to do this. So after I clean this, I dry it with a powerful air blower, and then after that I spray it with rubbing alcohol, isopropyl alcohol, so that it mixes with the water, scrub it again, and then I blow and dry it again to make sure it's completely dry inside. So that's how I do it, but I'm not going to really show that in the video. Hopefully you can kind of figure it out from the explanation. Okay, so now we're going to have to use the T4 screwdriver. You don't want to mix up any of these screws because they are all different sizes and lengths, so keep that in mind. So we got the T4 screws here. We're going to remove the two T4 screws here. I do have a video that shows how to replace the screen on these models. They're all very similar. So if you want, look for my MacBook Pro. Any model 2017 to 2020, the screen removal process is almost identical. So just watch one of those videos if you want to figure out how to replace the screen. I also have videos where I show how to remove the trackpad, but I probably won't do that on this video. So this plastic piece, once you take the two screws out, you can pull it out just like that. Okay, same thing with the other side. Take out the two screws. Again, this is using a T4 screwdriver. Okay. Again, try and keep the screws together because they are different sizes and lengths. You don't want to get them all mixed up. Okay. I'm trying to organize the screws. screw while I do this at the same time. Okay, same thing, lift up the little cover and then kind of pull it back. You might have to wiggle it a little, it kind of gets jammed in there. There we go. Alright, so we're going to leave the screen in place unless I have to remove it. I don't think I need to remove it. So we're going to undo this screw, which is a T5. Actually, let me remove all the T4 screws first. So the T4 screws, almost all of these covers will use T4 screws. So this cover here, and then these little these keyboard covers or the connector covers. And then I believe these two are also T4. The rest are T5. So this also with the screen connector here. Alright, so again, try and keep your screws in order. This can be pretty tricky because there's a lot of screws. But yeah, so the way I do it is I lay them out on my table in the pattern I'm taking it out, and then I put the little metal connector right next to it so I can tell where the screws came from. So that's a little tip or trick. Alright, after you remove those two screws, you can take that metal plate out. Okay, there's the headphone jack connector here. Just pop it up. You can use one of those little plastic tools. I just use my fingernails, and then I just pry it up like that. Okay, underneath there, I don't know if you can see it, but let's see if I can get a better view. I've got too much junk in the way. Let's see here. So let's get a better view of that. Okay, so underneath there's the fingerprint sensor connector. So you want to flip that up as well. Okay. Sorry, the thing's probably shaking all over the place. And we're going to remove these two screws for the USB-C charge port connectors here. Okay, usually I don't think this metal plate will come off. It's part of the connector, or it sticks to the connector really well. But once you remove the two screws, just pry it up just like that. Okay, and then hold that, move that out of the way just like that. Okay, again we're gonna go down. You got the, oops, let me zoom back out. So you got the speaker connector here, so you want to remove that. To remove that, I just use my fingernail, or you can use a plastic pry tool underneath. Get as close as you can to the connector, but not underneath the connector, and then you want to pull it up. Okay, I cut my fingernails, so it's a little bit more difficult. Alright, and then once you get that connector up, you can go around to the other side and pry that up from the front like this. Okay, just like that. Go around. Alright, just like that, and we got the connector out. It is held down here with a little adhesive, so you do need to kind of peel up that adhesive to get it out of the way. Alright, so now we're going to remove, let's get this stuff out of the way to move my things over. Okay, so now we're going to remove the two screws from this bracket, and this is for the trackpad connector. If you need to remove the trackpad, it's pretty simple. You just disconnect the trackpad connector here, peel up this cable, and then there's the screws all along the sides here, and then there's a few screws along the bottom here that you need to remove. And after you take all of those out, you can actually take the trackpad out. I'm gonna leave it in because if I take it out, it's kind of tricky to make sure it gets lined up. It takes some time to do that, so I don't want to take it all out and then have to put it back. But there's two screws here, then the screws on this side, and then two like this again, and then you got the two here, and I think this middle screw you have to remove as well. You don't have to take the screws out from the trackpad thing here, so make sure you don't take those out. And once you do that, if you pull up this cable, you just open the screen slightly and the trackpad will fall through, and you just catch it with your hand. Make sure you don't flip the trackpad upside down because there are little washers on underneath between each of these screw areas. So yeah, you don't want to flip it over. Okay, so we're gonna disconnect the trackpad cable. Just get underneath like this, right? Pop it up, and as you can see, there's the adhesive. So to pull it, I just pull it away from this part as while I'm pulling it up. You don't want to just bend it straight up like that because you can damage the cable. Alright, and then you got the connector here. I don't remember what this connector's for. we'll find out when I open up the whole thing. I think that's for like the keyboard and stuff. All right. Okay, so let's remove these two T4 screws as well. All right, so we're going to remove the one here. All right, and we'll remove the one here. All right, that's going to be kind of weird. I'm going to actually keep them separate. Okay, so now we're going to remove this speaker connector as well. Again, go underneath as close as you can to the connector, but not prying up the connector itself. You want to pry at the cable right before the connector, and that will pop the physical connector out of the socket. All right, some people, they go underneath and then they accidentally pry the socket out, and you don't want to do that. Okay, so we got those out. These batteries are not glued, but they use a strong double stick adhesive to hold it in place. I have videos that show how to remove that, so if you want to know how to remove or change the battery and you can't find that video, just let me know. But yeah, you need some special tools to get that out as well. All right, so we're going to remove the connectors or the screws for this little bracket as well. All right, set that bracket aside. Now we're going to remove these 3 screws. Okay. Just like that, and then pop up this connector just like the other one. Oh, this one, the metal plate came off. See, normally that doesn't come off. It's normally stuck like this one. So once you do that, pop up the connector, all right, just like that, and move it aside. All right, remove the last one here. All right, again, keep all the screws in order because they are different sizes and lengths. All right, so this metal plate you lift up, but it's also latched, so you kind of have to lift it at an angle. You can't just lift it straight up. And then when you get it at an angle, you can unlatch it from there and take this out, okay? When you put it back, you have to put it at that angle and then hook it back on and then put it down. All right, so we've got that, and then pop up that connector as well. Okay, I think this is for the touch bar. Once I get the Logicboard out, we can go over what connections are what on this thing. Okay, so now, oh, we have to also remove the connectors for the screen cable. So there's 2 holding the screen connector down, and then 2 more holding the cable itself down. So let's take out the screws. Why is the screw not coming out all the way? Come on, there we go. All right, move the second one. Okay, once you got both those screws out, take off the metal plate just like the other ones. Okay, set that aside, and then you can take out the 2 screws here as well. Okay, these screws are pretty long that are holding this second little metal plate in place, so keep that in mind. You don't want to get them mixed up again. Alright, now that we got those cables out, we'll take out this metal plate as well. Alright, and then you can pop up this connector now. Alright, just like this, get underneath and pop it up. Okay, now we're going to switch to the T5 screwdriver. I think I got all the T4 screws out. Okay, so, oh, we actually do need the T8 as well. So actually I'm going to switch to the T8 bit first, and we're going to remove the 2 screws here holding the heatsink in place. Okay, so we're going to remove those 2 screws. So these T8 screws hold the heatsink in place. You also need the T8 if you're going to remove the hinges to remove the screen. Okay, now that we've got those out, we're going to switch to the T5, and then we're going to go along and remove all the T5 screws. So there's one T5 screw here. Okay, again, you want to keep all of these in order if you can, so that you can put them back in the same spot you took them out. Second one here. I just lay them out in my desk in the pattern I'm removing it, so then I can tell where they came from. Another T5 screw here holding down the wireless antenna connections. Right, and then another T5 screw here. Right, so now we got those 4 T5 screws out. Okay, now we will disconnect the wireless antennas. To do that, you just go underneath the tail and then you just pop it up. Okay, just like that. Same thing with the other one. Wireless antenna underneath the tail. You get this one out of the way. Underneath the tail, and then you just pop it up. Alright, just like that. And the last one, underneath the tail, pop it up. You don't want to try and pry it from the front here, or you can damage these, okay? Alright, so we got those. Now we got to get these ones. There's only 2, actually. So there's 2 down here. And then there's one more up in the middle here, okay? So make sure you remove both those. And then remove the middle one up here. Okay, and then you do want to disconnect this cable. I think this is a microphone cable, so peel up the plastic just like with the battery one, and then flip the little latch up. Okay, just like that. Hopefully you can see. Let me zoom in actually to show you a little bit better. So here, this plastic piece, sorry it's wobbling around, right? You move that back, the latch is here, flip the latch up, and then pull the cable out. So of course, to put it back, you push the cable back in first, and then you put the latch back down, okay? Alright, so I believe that's all we need to remove to get the logic board out. The most difficult part will be sliding those wireless antennas back in place. Okay, so once you got all of that out, now we have to lift the logic board out. So the way you do that, let's see if I can find a good spot to start. So I'm going to start with the side here if I can. There we go. Lift it up. Move the cables aside. So make sure that the wireless antenna is not getting caught, that this logic board or the headphone jack and the fingerprint sensors aren't getting caught. Okay. Oh, it'll help also to pull these rubber things up first to unstick them. Okay, so let's just peel the adhesive away. Alright, just pull the rubber thing up. Peel the adhesive like that. Okay, same thing with this side. Just pull it up. Peel it. There we go. So we got that all out. Again, we'll start over here. You don't want to use metal tools to do this because you can easily damage this. So if you have plastic tools, or just let your fingernails grow out. Okay, so lift this up. We're going to move towards the middle of the board. Alright, so as we lift it up, we're going to move and then push the cables out so they're not catching on the board. Right, slowly lifting it up. And then checking where else it's getting caught, because it's getting caught still on something. Okay, so make sure the cable, sometimes you lift it and it'll get caught again. So you kind of have to keep adjusting. Alright, there we go. Make sure you keep moving the cables out of the way. Lift it up all the way. And then you pull the logic board or the motherboard back so that these antennas can slide out. Okay, just like that. Again, keep checking the cables, make sure nothing's getting stuck on it. Right, and slowly pull it away. And there we go. We got the whole logic board out. So I'm looking at this. There's a bunch of corrosion here. I don't know if you can see that. There's a bunch of liquid damage right there. Okay. And be careful with this metal piece because this connects to the battery. You want to make sure it lines up when you put it back. So putting this back can be a pain. Again, you have to hold it at this angle, and then you have to slide everything back in underneath. Since I'm doing liquid damage repair, I guess I can do a second video if the video stops. I'm going to pause the video while I clean this whole thing, and then if it's still on, then hopefully I can have it all as one video. Again, there's some corrosion here as well, if you can see that. Alright, and there's some liquid residue up here, but that's not a problem because that's just on the heatsink. Okay, so yeah, for going through the whole, I don't know how it got into their computer. If it was like this, that means this went up. Oh, so it went all up here, so I'm gonna have to clean that off. It might be their power button is damaged. Yeah, their power button, hopefully it's not damaged. I'm gonna actually take the power button out and show you that. Okay, so it looks like there's only a few spots with liquid damage on it that I see, those 2 spots. There's a tiny bit right here, so I'll clean that out as well. Alright, anyways, after you get that, you want to take this cable out because it's fragile. So this is still using a T4, or actually it's using a T4, so you want to switch back since we were using the T5. Okay, we'll take out these 2 screws. Alright, set those screws aside. Oh, why am I not getting a good grip here? Okay. There we go. Set that screw aside as well. Take the metal plate. Actually, I think the metal plate is part of the connector on this one, so just pop it off. Just like that. Okay. Check it for corrosion. It looks like it's okay. Alright, so set that aside. Now's your time. You can clean this out with a toothbrush, get all the dust out from the heatsink radiator things, the radiator fins. Okay, so that's pretty much all there is to this. Yeah, I'm gonna show how to put the video or put this back together. If it's in the same video, then you'll see that. But anyways, if it doesn't, please like and subscribe because it'll help others find this video. And then look for part 2 if it's not all in one. Alright, I'll see you guys in the next one. I'll be back, or I might not. Alright. Alright, so I'm back. It didn't look like there was too much corrosion, so I ended up not completely cleaning the whole board with water and isopropyl alcohol. So I just scrubbed off the areas that had the corrosion here. There was some here. There was some on the other side, a little bit here. Where else? Maybe I should clean a little bit the residue the signs of residue that I see. Alright, so I'm gonna take, why did I throw this one? Okay. So I'm gonna take a piece of paper with some isopropyl alcohol. Sometimes the stuff doesn't come out with isopropyl alcohol and then you have to use water or use a not as strong isopropyl alcohol. So as you can see, it evaporates really fast. Okay. So the customer was kind of smart and they put the MacBook in a room with a dehumidifier. So that probably helped with it a lot. Alright, see a little residue here, so I'm going to just wipe it up. Try and get the signs. So there was some liquid damage here as well. And let's see. Just going to quickly look over the board and see if there's anything else. So what happens when you get liquid in your computer and electricity goes through it, it basically causes the metals to oxidize faster. I think that's what happens actually. And then if you've ever seen like pennies and stuff, how they get that green, white, powdery stuff, basically that's what happens with these things. And it's basically rust oxidization. Okay, and what happens when that stuff forms is it can connect these tiny components where they shouldn't have a direct like metal to metal surface touching or conductive component touching, and that's what causes the computer to get damaged from the liquid damage. So the water itself usually isn't too bad. It's only when you start running electricity through it that it causes problems. So just like when you have the board like this, if you touch the components, it's not too bad, but if you have power running through it and then you short it, that's when it causes problems. And that's why I recommend removing the battery or disconnecting the battery and then holding the power button for 15 seconds before starting. Okay, so everything looks good now. So if it is fried, if it still doesn't turn on, then some of these components might have gotten damaged. If you want to remove the fan, there's little screws holding it, and then underneath there's these connectors, just like this microphone connector that I removed. Okay, again, the fan has the same thing. There's just little screws holding it in place. So if you want to replace it, then here you can see the cable connector for the touch bar. So these two connectors, I believe, are for the touch bar. And then the cable under here is for the power button, home button. If you need to replace that, Touch ID won't work anymore, but I think it will fix the power button. But yeah, to remove that, you do have to take this fan off, and then you have to remove the two, I think, the 4 screws. I think the black screws you can leave. I don't remember, but you can take all the screws out. I think I had a video where I removed that. Okay, then you got the speakers here. These ones are held in with a strong adhesive. I've never had to replace these new speakers. They changed the design. I have a feeling that they're more durable, but on the old ones, the plastic around the speaker actually broke, and then they start getting this rattly sound. So here you can see the trackpad cable, and yes, this is the keyboard cable. Okay, so now we're going to put everything back together. Make sure that this metal plate is still bent upwards, because if you pushed it back down and it touches there, you're going to have problems. Okay, so try and bend all these cables to be out of the way when you put the Logicboard, motherboard back in place. Okay, these cables aren't going to stay up, so you just have to watch for them. And then remember to reconnect the, I forgot that one time. Remember to reconnect this LCD cable back in place. Okay, just line it up, push it back down. There's some dust there, let me clean that as well. Okay, alright, so this uses the T4 screws, so grab those T4 screws that you took out. Again, you don't want to mix them up. Hopefully you're getting the right screws and putting them back in the same spots like I said. Okay, don't try and twist them too hard. Sometimes people over tighten it and then it rips out the part that holds the screw in place. Okay, there we go. Okay, so we'll flip this back over. Again, you gotta make sure all the cables end up back on top, so kind of bend this to keep it out of the way if you can. Alright, and then this one. So the main one, slide in the wireless antennas back underneath. Okay, the metal piece needs to go on top. Alright, make sure that this charge port, oh, let me zoom in a little bit more. Okay, make sure this charge port is out of the way. Make sure the two what are that, touch bar cables are out of the way. Make sure the speaker connector goes on top. Alright, keep holding it if you want. It's easier to do like one side at a time, so I start with this side. Okay, make sure you get the battery connector to go on top and the trackpad connector on top. Make sure the keyboard connector is on top. Okay, then slowly lower it. Okay, pull the power connectors over here out. Oh, this metal plate finally came off. Okay, so make sure to pull the power connector out of the way and also the speaker. Okay, so the hardest part is these last 3 here. Right, headphone jack as well as the little power button cable underneath and this cable here. Okay, try and get all these out of the way at the same time, and then let the board drop down. Alright, it's gonna be tough. Let's see here. Oops. So sometimes the things will go back underneath. Make sure that you keep an eye on that. If you have like a longer tool, you can use like a longer or plastic tool, and then you can help use those to help pull these connectors back out and keep them on top. Okay. All right. Speaker connector, just like that, and then make sure to check all of them. Got that one, that one, that one. You got the microphone cable coming through. Got those antennas. Okay, so what we do, I can turn this now. Hopefully you can see what I'm doing. All right, if you have like a long skinny screwdriver or something, you can use that to kind of push these cables up and out of the way. All right, and grab all of those out of the way. There we go. Okay, so we got all the cables on top. All right, and now we're gonna slowly start plugging everything back in to make sure that we got everything in place. So first, get the cable here underneath. I don't know if you'll be able to see everything because it's so small. Hold the headphone jack out of the way. Line up the power button cable. Can be a little tricky, all right? And then push it back in. Snap that in place. Make sure it's pressed all the way down. Headphone jack, same thing. Line it up, push it down. I don't know what that junk was. Throw it away. All right, push this one back down as well. Line it up. Make sure it goes in place properly. And then I guess we'll put the metal plates back later. Get the speaker connector. Sorry, I'm probably going out of view of the camera. Line it up. Push it back down. Okay. Just like that. Keyboard connector. Line it up. Might have to look from the side to make sure that it lines up properly. Okay. Then push it back down. Trackpad connector. Line it up. Push it down. Okay. Speaker connector. Line it up. Oops. Line it up and push it back down. Let's see here. There we go. Remember, you want to do this last because these are the batteries. You don't want to plug that in while you're still working on the computer. Okay. Then you got the touch bar connector. Line it up, push it down. Right, we got the microphone. There's some dust under there. I'm going to try and clean it off. Oh, that's stuck to the adhesive. Okay, microphone connector. Slide it back. I use my fingernail to pull the connector back while I'm sliding it on top of the connector on the board. This helps me drop it down, all right, behind the connector like that. And then you can slide it back in. Push the connector down, or the latch down, right? This one as well, line it up. All right. It's kind of hard to see at this. Okay, just like that. The connector should stay down on its own if you plugged it in right. Right, the other touch bar connector, oops, sorry. This one. It up, push it down, just like that. Okay, don't forget the LCD connector back here as well. You might have to pull it backwards slightly when you go to plug it in. Then push it down. Alright, then we got the 3 wireless antennas. Same thing, line it up. I like to run my fingernail over the top. If it doesn't move, I know it's lined up, and then snap it in place. Okay, do that with all 3 of them. Just like that. So we got all 3 in place. Okay, so we got all the connectors. Now we want to put all the screws back in. Let's zoom back out. Here we go. Sorry, it's moving around. All right, so let's start with the middle T4 screws. So the T4 screws that we took out from the Logicboard, one here. All right. Usually I don't tighten it all the way when I first put them. Okay. Get the other screw, line it up, and push it down, and then tighten it down. right? Once you get both in, you can go ahead and tighten them. And then check also all the screw holes to make sure that they are lined up properly. But once you get those two, everything should be lined up properly. Okay, make sure you get the rubber piece to go in the right place in the fan, and then stick it back down. Alright, line it back up, stick it back down. These rubber pieces prevent the airflow from coming back in. So when it blows the air out, it hits this piece where the cover meets it, and then it blows out through this hole. Okay. Alright, so now we got to, let's put back actually all the T5 screws to make sure everything stays lined up. Okay, so we'll take this one, put that screw over here, grab the next one, that screw over there. So reassembling, you basically just do everything in reverse of what we did to take it apart. Get that one screw in that center corner hole, put that in. Alright. Grab the 4 that go across the top of the board. Usually I like to twist the screw backwards until I hear it click one time, so that way I know it falls into the screw, the proper slot. Alright, if you're wondering why I sometimes twist the screwdriver backwards, or almost always twist the screwdriver backwards. Alright. Okay. Oops, not that one. Almost put the screw in the one for the T8. Alright, so let's switch back to the T8 screwdriver. I'm going to actually clean off this stuff because there's some liquid residue looking stuff or fingerprints or something on there. Clean that off, clean that off. Alright. See how fast the rubbing alcohol dries up. Okay, so now we'll put back the T5 screws that hold the heat sinks in place. Alright. I hope this works. If you do have residue on the battery, be careful using rubbing alcohol on here, because Apple put like some kind of special paint on there that if you use rubbing alcohol, it will rub off. So instead of using rubbing alcohol for that, I just use water, and I just use a little bit of water, so barely wet, and then I use the dry side of the paper to clean it off. But again, be careful if you use rubbing alcohol, it will rub that coating off. Okay, so there we go. Now let's put back all the little T4 screw brackets. Okay, so one tip for putting back all these little T4 screws, since it has like multiple mounting points, what I do is I'll put in one screw first, okay, but put it loosely. After that, then I'll line up the second one and then put that screw in. Okay, and then once you got both screws in, then you can tighten up the other one. I'm thinking, I mean, these work with T4 screws. I'm wondering if I use a T3 if it'll be a little bit easier, but it will have more risk of damaging the screw, but it might be easier for me to, okay, line up the thing, put the screw in. Yeah, I'll just stick with the T4. It works well. Okay, tighten that up. Other side, same thing. Okay, grab the screw. Put one side in loosely first. Okay, grab the second one. Line it up. Put that screw in. Tighten it down. Then if you need to adjust, you can slightly move this. Tighten the second screw down. Alright. got this hook bracket again, as I was saying. Actually, let me zoom in for this so you can kind of see better how it's done. Hopefully you can see how it's done. Okay, so the cable's there. So you put it at an angle like this, hook it over. There's a little metal hook underneath there. Once you get it hooked in place, then you can put that connector down, right? Again, use the T4 screwdriver. Line it up, and then screw it down. There we go. All right, let's zoom back out. Put the rest of the screws in. It's probably zoomed out too much. Okay, let's see here. So we got this small, what am I missing? Oh, here we go. Okay, so we got this one here. Put that on there. Grab one screw. Put it loosely. Grab the second screw. Okay, line it up. Tighten it down. Oh, it moved when I was tightening it down. So it's not that important that you have it perfectly centered, but for me, I don't like having them slightly crooked, so I try and line it up as much as I can. Alright, grab this one for the trackpad and the keyboard. Someone's calling me. It might be them asking if their computer's working, but I'm working on it, so let me get that out of the way. Okay, so tighten that up. Alright, tighten that one up as well. Alright, make sure both of them are completely tightened all the way. Alright, so let's put this bracket back for the screen connector. Alright, again, I'm just putting it loosely at first. Line it up. And tighten it down. Alright. These screws are much longer than all the rest, so you have to kind of twist it several times to get it to go all the way down. Alright, get the little bracket for the, man, come on, come on. Accidentally flipped it over and now it's difficult to pick it up. There we go. Okay. Grab that one. Get the screw. And let's tighten this one down. Alright, grab the other screw. Alright, tighten that one down as well. Alright, final bracket holding in these two pieces. And then we just gotta put back the plastic covers and the battery connectors. So the plastic hinge covers, I'm not sure what those are for. I think it's to prevent the hinge screws from coming up or something. But alright, there we go. Got all the brackets back in place. Alright, let's put back these little plastic things. Just line them up. Make sure that the plastic thing, you have it slightly raised so that when you put it, it goes underneath the metal piece, the aluminum casing, okay? Right, those. And these screws, you don't want to over tighten them because you will crack the plastic. Just tighten it until it stops and then put a little extra pressure. Okay, you don't want to twist it as hard as you can. can easily damage the plastic shells on these. Oops. Okay. There we go. All right. So we've got all of those back in. We are done with the T4 screwdriver. We are going to switch back to the T5. Oops. We're also done with the T8. We don't need that anymore. Okay, so again, line up this metal piece that the screw holds down. Push it down. Use the screwdriver. The screw will, the screw will help hold it down, and then just tighten it in place. If you do notice it's like going up or down, you do want to realign it. This one looks okay, so we are going to just tighten it down. All right, and then reconnect the battery connector here. Right, so to do that, I kind of just hold the plastic out of the way to see, and then I use this part of the cable to slide it. Okay, then when it's in place, put the latch down. Right, put the plastic back over it, and then grab this last plastic piece, put it on top. You do have to plug the MacBook in after you do all of this. It won't turn back on automatically. I'm not gonna slide the back parts in until after I test it. So what I do is I just put the cover on like this, and then I just snap the sides in place on the middle. So that way this part is still gonna come out if I just lift it up. All right, so now we're gonna try plugging it in and see if it turns on. Grab the charging cable. Is this the right? Nope, that's an older MacBook. All right, grab the charging cable. Let's plug it in and see if it turns on. So far nothing. I think it's fried because nothing is happening. Nothing. Power button. Nothing. I didn't hear the charge sound, so I doubt it's turning on. Alright, let's plug in the other one. Still nothing. Nothing's happening. Alright, let's plug in the charge cables on the other side. Still nothing. And this one as well. Nothing. So it looks like this MacBook is completely toast. Alright, so I'm gonna leave the cable plugged in charging overnight and see if it makes a difference. I doubt it, but we'll see. Sometimes if it got shorted, the battery would completely drain to zero and it won't do anything until after you leave the thing plugged in for like at least half an hour or something. So yeah, and if the battery's completely dead, then it probably won't do anything at all. But anyways, that's all there is to this video. I guess I'll put the connector back, or the case back on properly. And then, so since I left that latch out, I can actually pull the case up this way. Oh, it's spinning. I think it's alive. The fans are going. Let's see. Is it actually alive? The fans are spinning, so it's doing something. Or is it just making me think it's alive? Okay, I'm going to press and hold the power button to hopefully, if it's on, to turn it off. Right, push the power button once. Is there any signs of life? Nothing. Doesn't look like it's going to do anything. I'm going to do a PRAM reset and SMC reset. So SMC reset. Could be the screen's not showing anything. Right, PRAM reset. I just heard the fan spin up. but nothing's happening. Nothing, I don't see anything on the screen at all. No signs of life other than the fans are spinning. Yeah, nothing's happening. Okay, so I guess this thing is kaput. I'm gonna pull the cover back out. I have someone that I work with that does Logicboard repairs, so I'll see if they can do anything. Again, the fans were spinning, so it's not completely dead, but it's not doing anything at all. So right now the fans are off. If I push the power button, actually nothing happened. Slightly warm. Alright, let me hold the power buttons. Huh, I held the power buttons down and then the fan started spinning. It's kind of weird. Okay, I held the power buttons until the fan stopped. Now let me push the power button once, see if anything happens. Nothing. Huh, when I press and hold the power button, then it starts the fan spinning. But nothing is coming on the screen, so yeah, I think it's dead. Alright, so the fans just spun crazy and then stopped. A lot of times what I find, it's like the backlight that dies, but I don't see any signs of anything on here, so yeah. Alright, I'm gonna put the cover back on. That's pretty much all there is to this. Hopefully this video helped you. If it did, please like and subscribe so that others can find this video. And thank you for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one. This thing keeps spinning, but yeah. Alright, bye.